I, 29, finally paid off my student loans after 6 years. I haven't bought any new clothes or shoes since high school to save money, so I've basically donated most of them and am starting to buy a professional wardrobe. I'm from a very poor family, so getting something new that's not a hand-down is amazing, and once I have something new I want to wear it around the house. My boyfriend is annoyed when I bring home new things or wore them around him, so I try to hide them or leave them in my car and bring home after he's gone to work and wear it then. I went out recently and bought a coat and Mary Jane's back and didn't hide them in time. He saw them and got mad because he believes I was spending frivolously, and he told me if I was going to waste money I could help him pay down his debt. I'm annoyed because I worked hard to pay off my loans and I'm finally getting to buy things I've always wanted, and we got into a fight. Not the a-hole, his debt is his debt. You're not his cash cow. Red flags there. Seriously, this isn't even a marriage partner, it's a freaking boyfriend wanting you to pay down their debt. Tell them to keep to their lane until they put a ring on your finger, and even then expect a prenup. This is from a guy. Exactly. Don't be a wife to your boyfriend. Not the a-hole. It's your money, you can spend it as you see fit. If he wants the same luxuries, he should finish paying off his own loans. Not the a-hole. Unless you specifically agreed to pay his debt, it's his debt, and you have no obligation to hide new stuff you buy with your money. I hope this guy has great qualities you didn't mention, because this seems selfish and sketchy as hell. I'm at the gym today and I'm walking towards an empty squat rack. 10 feet in front of and 1 feet to the right of my rack is another rack that a girl, Belinda 20, is doing squats on. While walking up I briefly noticed that her leggings are see-through, and when she bends down in her squats, you can easily tell she's also not wearing underwear. That's not my business, that's her choice. But it made me uncomfortable to take a rack that was kinda behind her. I had been waiting my entire gym session for one of these racks to open up, and this was my last lift before leaving, so I went ahead and took it. I went through my workout as normal. After every set I check my phone for 5-20 seconds. I track every single set for every single lift in a spreadsheet to note how much I lifted and for how many reps. Sometimes I need to remind myself what I did last week to make sure I'm progressing. Sometimes I'm just checking the time. Sometimes I'm changing the song on my Spotify. Tonight specifically, there was a very important basketball game being played, so I wanted to keep up with the score. So I use my phone a lot at the gym. I finished my third set when Belinda turns around and walks up to me with her phone up yelling, "What are you doing, perv? Stop doing pictures of me." I'm caught completely off guard, but I explain that I'm just taking notes on what I'm lifting. That I'm not paying attention to her at all. She's being extra loud so other people are looking at me, plus she's recording me, and she demands I go through my pics vids to show her what I was recording, and I delete the ones I took of her. I try to again explain I didn't record anything of her at all. She's yelling that if I have nothing to hide I should have no problem showing her, so I insist on going to gym management. Once at the front we both explain our stories, she's still recording. The normal gym attendee asks me if I'm willing to show her, a neutral third party, my pics vids. She also says if I have nothing to hide it's not a big deal and we can squash it right now. I refuse. I have my own uncensored pics in there plus those of my girlfriend. I'm not gonna let anyone force me to show them for some bullshit. I do show her my spreadsheet which shows it's been revised over 15 times in the past 50 minutes, so that proves what I was using my phone for. That was received well, but they still expected me to prove my innocence. I told them they need to review the cameras. Apparently only the manager has access to them, so I was told he'd call me before the end of the night, in about an hour. My girlfriend tells me I should have just let them look at my phone, because she doesn't mind, and it would have cleared this all up. But I mind. I get that someone wouldn't want someone taking pics of them, but violating my privacy to prove I wasn't taking pics of you crosses a line for me. Why did we need to know the girl wasn't wearing underwear? That has zero to do with the story unless you're trying to shame her to turn the judgment in your favor. She should be ashamed for thinking that everyone is photographing her. We only know that she thought OP was talking pictures of her. Not sure where you're getting everyone. I wonder if the woman suddenly realized that her leggings were more see-through than she had originally thought. I don't know if there are mirrors that low in gyms though. I exercise at home, and that made her extra anxious about the possibility of people noticing taking pics. You're not the a-hole. But the amount of slut-shamers in the comments trying to blame the girl for being a hoe and dressing like that on purpose, you all are a-holes. Maybe the real a-hole was the internalized sexism we found along the way. Everyone sucks here, it just seems like you are both a bit over the top. You said yourself that you were constantly on your phone, and she probably misunderstood your behavior. Her screaming at you was over the top. Well, I agree you don't have to show your pictures, that would have been the easier and quickest way to solve the situation. It kind of seems like you both just wanted to make a scene. But I guess it's being resolved when the manger checks the camera, so in the end it was just much to do about nothing. But before anyone misunderstand, no, you don't need to show your pictures, it's fine that you didn't. Edit, the mention of what she was wearing was so unnecessary to the situation. And when I am reading the comments here I feel sick. Edit, I again want to emphasize that OP is in no way obligated to show his photos, and it's perfectly fine that he didn't. That's his privacy and he can choose whether to show it or not. Not the a-hole, you having to prove yourself by showing private photos is just absurd. What's on your phone is private. The girl has no evidence except for what she had thought up in her own head. To be honest, I would have turned the tables and say she was recording you without permission and asked the attendee if that is normal for this gym. OP edit. Just talked to the manager. He checked the footage. He couldn't see what was on my screen in the footage, but he said it looks like I had my phone pointed towards the ground right in front of me the whole time. In his opinion, not high enough to even take a pic of her, and never angled in her direction. Apparently I was gonna get banned from the gym if the cameras didn't absolve me. And also I'm not the first person that has been accused by Brenda, but she alleged had a creeper before. Let me preface by saying, my wife and I are in a very happy relationship, and while this has become an issue for us, we are both happy together and there's nothing wrong with our relationship. I am 36 and I am married to 36. We have 4 kids together, 13, 10, 7, and 5. My wife has an older sister who is in her late 30s and who has 2 young girls, 14 and 9. Her husband is in the Navy and is gone a lot, and there has been a lot of recent break-ins in their neighborhood, so she doesn't feel comfortable staying alone with 2 young kids. I understand and sympathize with her completely. However, I returned home about 4 days together to find that my sister-in-law had asked my wife if they could stay here for a few months until her husband came back home. I was caught totally off guard, needless to say. But I was careful not to show any of my surprise until I pulled my wife aside and asked what was going on. She explained that her sister had been feeling unsafe and that she had wanted somewhere else to stay that would be a lot safer for her daughters. My wife had always been a very kind, selfless person, so I wasn't surprised, but I was upset. Don't get me wrong, I'm on board with it, but I feel somewhat hurt that my wife would make such a big decision without consulting me, even though I would have said yes, anyways. But my wife thinks I'm being dramatic and that it's not a really big deal, and that she was sorry I felt like that, but that she didn't want to waste any time with conversation when her sister felt so unsafe. I just can't shake my hurt feelings, though. And my wife, who is usually very sympathetic to me, thinks that I'm thinking too hard about it and that she did the right thing. Your wife is completely and totally in the wrong here. You don't invite another adult and 2 children into a home of 2 adults and 4 children for months without consulting the other adult. The need to move after recent break-ins was not instant time sensitive. Your wife absolutely could have waited to talk to you about it. She is showing gross inconsideration to you by not having done so. Not the a-hole. And when OP calmly brought up his concerns, he was basically dismissed and called dramatic. Her response speaks volume. If I was OP, I would not lift a damn finger to clean or cook or provide for these people. Wife can do it all. I can almost guarantee sister-in-law will cry, I'm a GUEST, and not help at all around the home. Better yet, OP can stay at their place, where there will be peace and quiet. Sister-in-law asked, her sister-in-law asked, and wife agreed. Not the a-hole, you should be consulted. That's adding 3 people to a household for months. My sister-in-law asked and my wife agreed to let her come stay. Don't want to sound callous, but who is covering for their costs during the months they are staying with you? Also, is it gonna inconvenience your kids' personal space? It's like your kids are an afterthought on all this. Not the a-hole. It takes next to no time to call or text and say my sister feels unsafe where she's at. This is an immediate problem that I felt I needed to act on in the moment, so she's with us right now. Let's talk about the long term in person when you get home. I completely get there being times when a decision needs to be made immediately, and I'll give your wife the very liberal benefit of the doubt and assume she felt she had to pull the trigger right then and there, but that's still no excuse for not keeping you in the loop and inviting you into a larger discussion as soon as possible.